Learn to be super successful. Subscribe to my channel, Meathead.
I would rather, no, I wouldn't. I would take them, if you're going to take them someplace. Remember, we're not buying breakfast, we're not buying lunch, we're not buying dinner. But if you want to meet them for someplace for a coffee, I'd meet them at the Ritz-Carlton, the Ritz Hotel. That's fine. No, I wouldn't do that. Okay, so now we've done it for this. We've done it for the CEO, the chairman, and now the same methodology for the CFO. And the CFOs, you're going to limit. You want these guys preferably be in the big 4 accounting firms, but no less than the big 6 or big 8 accounting firms. And remember, the CFO is going to be there to watch your professional accountants that you hire, that you don't get overbilled, and to make sure you stay on track. And they will be at the end of their careers or recently retired. Now, the CEO and the CFO, towards the end of their retirement, they're going to be given by the board, their former board, latitude to go out and feather their nest and get other board positions. Okay? And so, and the associations, and there's all kinds of reports showing, who's retired, who's not retired. And normally it's, CPA, that's what they call them in America, Certified Public Accountants. In this country, they call them Chartered Accountants, and they call them different things in different places. But it's from the big accounting firms. And so now you do the same thing, okay? But now you've got the profile of the CEO and the chairman. And now you're starting to look like somebody. And rarely does the CFO say no. Rarely. But it does, occasionally. Occasionally. And then you do the same thing for the in-house lawyer, the in-house accountant, which is separate from the CFO, and you do it for the 2 or 3 or 4 industry experts. I like to overload on industry experts. You can't have too many, but you're only giving them 1 or 2%. And right now you got 100% of nothing. So having 60 or 65% is something. And the average in the last few years has been about 2/3. And actually, for 30 years, it's been about 2/3 you're going to wind up after you've given all the equity away. Okay. Now this is potential chairman, potential CFO, potential CEO, potential accountant, potential lawyer, and potential industry experts until you form the company at the board meeting. I'll get there, okay? This is all like pretend. This is virtual shit. Not for real until you form the company at the board meeting. We're not there yet. Okay, so now I told you there's 2 shortcuts to get the accounting firm and the law firm. I don't like using them, but some of the kids do. They ask their 2 accountants for recommendations to big 4 accounting firms, maybe their own, okay? And they ask the in-house lawyer for a referral to a law firm, maybe his former law firm. And normally at least one of the industry experts and perhaps the CEO and the chairman are going to be lawyers and or accountants. Sometimes they're both. And so you can cut the process. But based on your communication skills, I wouldn't cut the process. I would make as many presentations as you can because you'll be smoother, like baby diarrhea. For those of you that I've only changed 1 diaper, 3 kids. I could write a whole book about it, but anyway. And okay, so now you've asked your accountant, in-house lawyer, et cetera, for referrals to big 4 or big accounting firms. And I wouldn't go to the ones they recommend. I'd start and make 4 or 5 presentations to the mini guys so you don't fuck it up. And when you go to the accounting firms, you take your accountant and you take your fucking CFO. When you go to the law firms, you take your fucking in-house lawyer or anybody else that's a lawyer on the board with you. Because even after you make 50, 100 presentations, even after you go to improv, even after you go to Toastmasters, you're not going to be able to speak worth a shit based on how you talk in here. Unless a miracle happens, and I don't believe in miracles, everybody in this room needs a lot of practice talking. Because most of you have talked and not sold. And there's a big difference when you're selling. You got to be more agile on your feet. And everybody in this room, myself included, needs more practice. So now you've got, because we don't have a company, the accounting firm and the law firm, you negotiate some terms. There's really nothing too much to negotiate because you're either going to have delayed fees or success fees, okay? And not contingent fees. These guys are not going to do anything contingent, meaning that if it doesn't work out, they don't get paid. And so the accounting firms are going to want somebody, who am I going to engage? It's going to be you as an individual. That's fine. But within the engagement letter, it's based on a company yet to be, a new co yet to be formed. You lawyers know how to do this, and it's in the gigs. Okay. The gigs, I said the first day, translate into all languages except, not word for word, but almost word for word, except Arabic and Russian. They don't translate so well. In other words, there's other words, or they don't have the words, or whatever, however you want to look at it. But Arabic's a bitch. Arabic's a bitch. But if it is in Arabic, you need to be, somebody's got to be fluent in Arabic, because you don't know what the fuck you're going to sign. And in those countries that speak Arabic, the accounting firms and the law firms are more likely to, instead of doing everything major shareholder friendly, major Arabic friendly. And you don't know. So you need somebody that knows what the fuck they're doing when they read these fucking contracts. Okay, so now you've got your law firm and your accounting firm. And now your executive summary looks like looks like the Bible. All these profiles and all these things, and you want to get the permission of the accounting firm and the law firm to use their name, and not in vain, but use their name. In other words, you want it on the bottom. We're represented by. Okay, some accounting firms and law firms will do that. Some won't. But if you got Ben Carson as your chairman, I can assure you, or a Ben Carson lookalike, I can assure you the accountants and lawyers will say yes. But if you got Doodle Strudel, your fourth cousin from Albuquerque, New Mexico, or Bolivia, they're going to say no. So now you got this executive summary and all this stuff, and then so you're warming up banks. You go to the banks, not with a business plan. You call up, hi, I see you were involved in this $42 billion health credit. I assume you're still in the lending mode. Thank you very much. I'd like to talk to somebody in the healthcare vertical. And they won't know what that means. They're going to go run and get their manager and say, bleh, and says, okay. And that guy has got a script, as I said, just like you've got a script. And his script is you've got to check boxes. One of the boxes is a business plan, which we don't send. Okay. I don't even send an executive summary. But because you're weak, cunts, and you're desperate, you'll probably send the executive summary, and it will be blown away. It will be blown away, okay? And then for sure they want to get you in the office. The reason why I don't want to send an executive summary is because he showed it to his two supervisors. These are some big fucking fish. We got to get them in. Okay, so you shouldn't have to sell an executive summary just to get some information. Like some of the kids, weak need, and they send it. Okay, but all you want to know is from the credit officer in the vertical, home health, assisted living, whatever you are, is the lending parameters currently, today, based on today's interest rates. What are your lending parameters? And they'll say 3.5 to 5.5 times EBITDA. Our sweet spot is 5. Or some number like that. You heard 3 people tell you they're buying them at 2.8. You heard 3 different people at 3 different parts of the world. Healthcare conglomerate, I forget what the other one was. And so historically, and you probably heard Jason or Tony say, we had bought some companies, we thought they did well until we went to the seminar, and then we realized we didn't do so well. Everybody in this room is overpaid for whatever the fuck you bought. I don't care what you bought. I know I could have bought it cheaper. But see, so you want the lending parameters. If they give you the lending parameters on the phone, good. I would still go to the meeting, though, because you need the practice. And when you go to the bankers meeting, you're going to take your CFO and maybe an industry expert. And you're going to look better, and you shut up. But before you go to the meeting, you give your CFO and whoever you go to these meetings a cheat card. This is why we're here. This is what we say. And this is what the fuck we don't say. We've had, because of you kids, we've had 4 or 5 in the last 3 or 4 years where the CFO goes in there and he says all the wrong things. But if you tell him what to say and you stay on point, and if it starts going sideways in the meeting, you shut the guy up right there, which will be hard for some of the younger guys to shut up a 65-year-old guy that used to run E&Y for the Southwestern United States or the head of healthcare for entire Europe for PwC. That's not easy, but you better do it. Yeah. Well, maybe not that harsh, but I mean, I've seen guys get kicked under the table. The joke is, the reason why I have, it's Sally when she was in her youth, when she used to be a bodybuilder. That's why I have artificial knees. But now, since she, but it started, I have an artificial hip. She used to be able to get her leg up higher when she was young, but now she went from my hip to kicking me in the knees. I mean, I've seen guys get kicked under the table, and give them a dirty look. Now, I just said what the CFO meant to say, and you clean it up. Kind of like when they clean up something Biden or Trump says, you back it up. But then that guy's not going to another meeting. Yeah. That you're not taking that fucker to another meeting. As you walk out the building, you just let, I had a CFO a long, long time ago in a wheelchair. And they say it's not you. I just turned his wheelchair over and kept walking. That's not true. But he didn't attend any more fucking meetings, that's for sure. Now remember, these are all potential. These guys aren't on the payroll. And you're not hiring these people. So now you've warmed up the banks, and so now it's time for you to attack, running towards the gunfire, the motivated sellers. Now you're loaded for bear or boar, or whatever the fuck, because you've got a lot of shit. You got accountants and lawyers' names on the station, not the stationery, but the executive summary. These guys, these guys are powerhouses, guys and gals, and there are gals, and you will get gals. And so now these poor mullets that have no succession plan. You've heard cold calling, knocking on doors, etc. Some use email, call, email. Some use call, email, call. I like call first because I can tell whether they're a suspect or a prospect. A prospect is somebody that can buy. Suspect is just flapping their lips. And if you make 5 cold calls a day, remember, but that's 5 calls to people that can make a decision to sell the fucking business. And if, have you ever considered selling your business? And they say, yeah, Molly and I, well, then you've been talking to Molly and him. Okay, my brothers and you need to talk to everybody. And if you can't do it on that cold call, thank you very much, sir. I'll be in your neighborhood next week. Can I come by and see you Friday afternoon? You live in Albuquerque, he lives in Boston, but you're going to be there. Just coincidentally, you're going to be there. I think I've only been to Delaware once. It wasn't to see Biden. Somebody see important. I can't remember who now. Anyway, so because you got to talk to all the decision makers at once. So then you talk, and then they really are serious or they're not. Now the problem is, if you're in Albuquerque and you go to Boston, I call a bunch of people in the Boston area, so I don't just see one person. But back in the very, very, very beginning, I traveled on a bus across the country to see one person. I was desperate. And I could sell. But they didn't have all this information in Google fucking all this stuff. Now, you come loaded for bear. You know more about him than he does, or her, or the family, or whatever. And you don't take no for an answer. That's the hard part. Well, I got to think about it. Well, I've got plenty of time. Let's pour another cup of coffee. Let me help you think through. Now, listen to Thomas's sale process, what he does. He's as good as that I've got right now. And but they're motivated. Remember, she's spitting up blood for emphysema, and he just had a stroke. There's not much to talk about. Now, I don't expect you to say, well, you've got emphysema. Would you like to borrow my hanky to wipe the blood from your mouth? I don't expect I would love for you to do that, but I've been doing this long enough to know that you're not going to do that. But you can, with greatest respect, ma'am, it's obvious that, your health is not what it should be or what you would want it to be. Isn't that right, ma'am? And that you can ease into that. I don't like that methodology. It takes too long. But I know how to do it. That's my personality. But you will find your own personality. And because you're not going to be a mini-me, and the scripts aren't written, even though I wrote a lot of them, they're not for you to copy me, because the Viking bitch doesn't talk that way, and Ellie doesn't talk that way. Now, Jason, Tony, the older brother, does talk like me. So, but he's not the guy that interfaces with them at first. He's the guy they bring when we're going to hammer clothes. Okay, two different personalities. And most people like Tony, the younger brother, better. He's more a nice human being. Remember where the word nice came from. Within the gig is the daily war plan of an Ellie. And so that's at the one end. That's at the right-hand end of work yourself to death, 120 hours. Okay, so now, and you stay there. And I used to have 4 or 5 appointments over a weekend. He has, and you're going to notice in this thing, 5 appointments a day. Now, when I was at first doing this, I had 5 to 7 appointments a day. A day. And I got all those deals done, and on Wall Street, first selling institutions. And because he has done by himself more than if you had Goldman Sachs as a team doing it for you. And he's given away 35%. You saw that. He keeps 65%. He was a little judicious or cheap, another word, giving away equity in the beginning. But he sees now that the guys on the board are more productive. And you can't do this alone. Once you got to have people. You heard Roberto say, you're only as good as your team. That's a slight exaggeration, because you can make up for a bad team. But I don't want you to make up for a bad team. I want you to, being able to filter. Remember, the first board is not the last board. The first board is good for the first 5 or 10 or $15 million in deals. And they will, and as you refinance and they ask, is it all right if I sell my shares? Yes. So 2 or 3 will drop out. 40% will drop out themselves. You'll drop off 30, 40%. And then you'll keep the stars to go to the next level. The same thing, you go to the next level. By the time you get to where Gabriel is, valued now 500 million Swiss francs, he's got about a third of the original board, about a third. And in some cases, like the Viking bitches, only got the chairman left. And those are questions, you're there. And again, you got to fall back on your chairman or chairperson. And so now, once you do one deal, everybody will coalesce. And because now you're not having to say, we've done cumulatively 82 billion, blah, blah, blah. We've done that cumulatively. But now, as a team, we just did, our first deal, first 3 or 4 deals. I would wait till you make 3 or 4 or 5 acquisitions before you start adding the numbers to your executive summary. Because you don't want, it's slightly embarrassing. You got $800 billion in deals in the board, and you just said, and we just did a $1.3 million deal. I would wait until you had a few deals. And that's it. Okay, YouTube.